Hey friends, it's Gloria and welcome back to another video. Today I have a little bit of a little free library adventure vlog and then a book haul portion. So my husband and I went on a trip to Medford, Oregon to visit Finn's great grandma, and that was so fun to visit with family. And while we were there with family, Brett and I were able to get away for a little bit. So we went little free library adventuring in Medford, Oregon and Ashland, Oregon, and did some other fun stuff along the way. Had some bubble tea, had some nice dinner. I got some fun new pants that I love. And so I will insert some of the little free library fun that I have. I will say the little free libraries weren't really meeting expectations. They were quite dirty, messy, not well cared for. Some of them were okay, but a lot of them really weren't great. So I didn't have the best of luck, if I'm honest, compared to previous little free library adventures. Like Port Townsend last year was amazing. It was like the best little free libraries I've ever seen. These were not so much, but I did still find some gems. So enjoy my little free library little clips, and then I will come back with the books at the end. Into the books. I'm gonna start with the books that I got for Finn because there were a lot more like children's books that I found than adult books. The first one is Over 100 Illustrations Bible Stories for Bedtime. It has like shorter, easily digestible little Bible stories in here that would be perfect for bedtime reading. And quite a lot of board books. Little One Step has like a cute little muted pastel-y color palette in here. We did read How Big is Zignod when I brought this book home, and I will be quickly putting this in my little free library for someone else to find because Finn could care less and I just thought it was overly silly, which some of Sandra Boynton's books are, and some have been total hits and some not so much. Busy Busy Farm by Richard Scarry was a gift from Finn's grandma to him. I think Brendan's, my husband's, childhood favorite books, so she wanted to get one for Finn. He might be a little bit too young for this yet, but excited to add this to his bookshelves, which are overflowing. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. He seemed to be really drawn to Kitten's Autumn by Eugenie Fernandez, and this is a really cool, almost like claymation type of artwork. Here's an example of some of the artwork. Actually a really cool book, very well done, quite beautiful to look at. I found Mike Mulligan and His Steam Shovel by Virginia Lee Burton. This is the author of The Little Blue House or The Little House or something like that, which I really enjoyed reading. Again, Finn is a little bit young for this kind of book because it has quite a lot of storytelling, but I'm sure when he's a bit older he will really enjoy that. I found The Animal Boogie by Debbie Harder and Fred Penner, and this comes with a sing-along CD. This is like a perfect condition little picture book. I have quite a few books by this author that I found that are more like the pop-up books or have like little counting fishes to touch and caterpillars and such. I found Look What I Can Do. It's by the same author that wrote Guess How Much I Love You, which is a very popular children's book. So this is a cute one with a little bunny and a butterfly and a bee on the cover. And then this one was read to Finn quite a bit at his library story times. I Went Walking by Sue Williams, about a little kid that walks and sees all the animals. So excited to read that one to him. Hopefully it'll be a little bit familiar. Finn is now gravitating towards books that are more familiar to him, that he's been read before. He's not really into new books from the library at the moment. He has this phase where all he wants is just the books that he knows, which is a little bit annoying for mom and dad because we're so sick of reading the same books for him. So hopefully he'll like some of those. Before I get into the adult fiction and some nonfiction, I did find The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. This is the same author as Charlotte's Web, which I'm not sure if I've read that as a child. I feel like I have, but I'm not 100%. But I don't really know anything about this story, so I will add that to my middle grade shelf. My one nonfiction book that I found is What to Eat When You're Pregnant by Nicole Avena. I am not pregnant. This was a book that I had checked out from the library quite a bit when I was pregnant, and I never got to fully reading through it or finding recipes, so I'm glad that I found this for free and get some recipe inspiration for when I maybe or maybe not am pregnant again. If not, I will put this in a little free library for someone else to find, but for now I was like, hey, score, because I can actually like tab it up and keep it and not think about having to return to the library. All right, and then for my adult fiction stacks, I found the Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Enriquez. I don't really know what this is totally about. I think it might be coming of age. It might be a YA book. Let me know if you've read it and what you think, but I've seen it around and I've seen overall people give this positive reviews, but I'm not entirely sure. Let me know what you think and if I should keep it and read it. Next, I found The Birth of Venus by Sarah Dunant. I haven't read from this historical fiction author before. This book is set in Florence and has to do with the Renaissance time period. I am so interested to find more historical fiction set in Europe, not having to do the war. That's a little bit older, more interesting. I haven't had luck with the Wolf Hall trilogy, which I know everyone loves and recommends, so I wanted to try something else, and I feel like I've heard this one. I kind of just snagged it. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know if you've read it and what your thoughts are. I found The Arctic Fury by Greer McAllister. This book has been on my winter TBR for like 3 years now, and I always check out the library copy, and I for some reason never get to it in the winter time, and now I have found my own free copy, and so I will add this to my shelves and I will hopefully be reading it this winter because I love reading wintry books, even though it's my least favorite season. The wintry books tend to be my favorite books of the year for some reason. And these next two, not my usual taste, way too literary, way too hyped books. Everyone loves them and these authors, and I don't think they're going to be Gloria books, but I couldn't help myself, and I'm also willing to branch out and try more. The first one I'm actually willing to try because I was so pleasantly surprised with The Dutch House by Anne Patchett, and I found Tom Lake, her newest release. This is, I think, about sisterhood and family. Most of her books are always about family and kind of like messy, confusing dynamics perhaps. The only thing is I've seen most people give this 3 stars. No one's really loved it, and I really enjoyed The Dutch House, surprisingly. It was one of those books that after making my mid-year freak out, I wish I talked about that book in the most surprising, because I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it after previously reading an Anne Patchett that I didn't love. I am curious how I will fare with Tom Lake. And then finally, My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is a 4-book quartet series about women in Naples, Italy. It is about friendship and family and really unlikable characters is what I've heard. It's kind of coming of age. Every lit fic girl loves these books, and I'm not a literary fiction girl. I don't think I'm gonna like it because it's unlikable characters, but I could be convinced to try it because the pressure's on, you know? I would still love to be pleasantly surprised. But there are things that I don't love about coming of age, like weird sexual content and like sexual awakening stuff, and also unlikable, like mean characters, adultery. I don't know if any of those topics are in this book. Let me know if they are, if you've read it. Do you think I'll like it, or do you think I should pass on this one? So those are all of my little library finds from this last weekend trip. And next, let me just mention some books that I've just acquired in the last month or so. So I found the entire, I think it's the entire, I'm not sure, but there's 6 books, 5 books, and then The Long Winter, of the Little House in the Big Woods series. The Little House on the Prairie, I think, is mainly what it's known, by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I don't recall ever reading these or knowing anything about these books, but I found them all in great condition, and I would love to get these read. So happy to have found these for 25 cents each. Next, to add to my collection, I found Jo's Boys by Louise May Alcott. I read and absolutely loved one of my favorites, Little Women. I have Little Men on my shelves, and Jo's Boys, this completes the 3-book series, and I would love to finish the series. It's on my series lists of books that I need to get to. I've heard Little Men and Jo's Boys aren't as great at all compared to the first book. And then the last classic I found is The Jungle Book. I found this beautiful edition with green sprayed edges, and it is just so cool. There's Mowgli and an elephant and some other fun stuff on the back. Look how cool that looks. This special edition was published in 1950, and this is a children's classic that I have not read. I remember watching the Disney movie and being very fond of it, you know, The Bare Necessities. Love that song, but I've never read the original classics. So would love to change that. I was interrupted, as is my life, so never got to finish this book haul. So I talked about my classics, and let me mention the 2 historical fictions that I found. The first one is The Huntress by Kate Quinn. This is one of her first books, I believe, and I've read 3 of her novels now. They always kind of fall in the middle of the road for me. So far, The Diamond Eye is my favorite of hers, but I've heard wonderful things about this. It has to do with a female spy. Most of her books are set during the war, and I'm also going to read her newest one. She's still not a favorite author though, even though I've read so many of her historical books now. But let me know which one of hers is your favorite. And then the other one, also similarly having to do with spies, I believe, is A Shadow in Moscow by Catherine Ray. This I've heard great things about, actually. I think it has to do with the Cold War. It is a dual timeline, but they're both historical. I don't like when one of the timelines is contemporary. So it has to do with the Cold War, KGB, 1980s arm race. I really haven't read much from the Cold War era, so I'm very intrigued by this one. And then I'll end with 4 more nonfiction, 2 also on theme with each other. I found another book that I read while I was pregnant and I loved, so I'm happy to add to my shelves. Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. I read this when I was pregnant and it was amazingly helpful and wonderful, and if I plan to have another kid, I will reread it for sure. This is definitely a must read if you want to go the unmedicated natural birthing route. I found this graphic novel, Kids Gloves, 9 Months of Careful Chaos. I think this is just a graphic novel about a woman being pregnant and what that's like. I plan to read it and then put it in my little free library for someone else to find, because I don't really think I would reread it unless I found it completely profound, but I imagine that it'll be just kind of silly, but probably relatable for someone who was pregnant. Next, I found The Songs of Jesus, a year of daily devotions in the Psalms by Timothy Keller and Kathy Keller. This is a devotional book for every day of the year about going through the Psalms, and I feel like that would be really helpful. Timothy Keller is a Christian author that I've read from before. The Meaning of Marriage is an excellent book, so I'm happy to have found that one. And then lastly, I couldn't pass up, even though I know nothing about it, is Milk Street Tuesday Nights by Christopher Kimball. This is a cookbook in perfect condition. I don't know about you guys, but for some reason in my life right now, recipes and meal planning and cooking is the hardest thing. I mean, having a kid is hard, that's hard, but like having the brain capacity to like think about what I want to eat and what I need to feed me and my husband and Finn, because now he's drinking less milk and eating more, just all of it is so overwhelming, and I'm just constantly like, I don't know what to make. I don't want to go to the grocery store. So I'm always on the hunt for new recipes that are actually good and easy to make. I need it to be easy, no fuss, as quick as possible, easy cleanup. So I'm always on the hunt for that. And I have no idea if this book has any of that, but I love a cookbook. So I will at least peruse to get some inspiration. I'll probably tab the recipes that look good, and then I will either cook from it, let it sit on my shelf for a while. I don't know. We're sort of in a rut right now with food. So if you have a favorite recipe, also let me know down below. We're also dairy-free, peanut-free, potentially gluten-free in the future. So, you know, we have all those things, which is extra annoying to like find recipes for and food for. But I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's like everyone in the world right now that has a bunch of dietary restrictions, and food is hard sometimes. Okay, well, that wraps it up. Thanks so much for watching my little book haul and little free library adventure. Please let me know, as always, which books of these I should read, which ones have you read and have had good moments with, and which ones maybe I should avoid. The ones that I asked a few questions of whether you think it's a Gloria book or not, let me know. And I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye!